Can a corrupt presidential pardon be challenged in court? Let's talk about that. Because being willing to go into court and fight for what's right, like justice, matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So in the aftermath of Donald Trump pardoning Mike Flynn, there has been a chorus of voices that has gone up. And it's a chorus crying out that this is corruption. It's a chorus crying out this is cronyism. A chorus crying out that this is un-American and it's violative of the rule of law. And then there's another chorus of voices, somewhat quieter, saying the presidential pardon power is so broad and so vast that it can never be challenged in court. I would call this chorus of voices the Presidential Pardon Purists, the people who maintain that no matter how corrupt a presidential pardon is, it can never be challenged in court. I disagree. I maintain that there is no absolute, unfettered governmental power. I contend that virtually every exercise of governmental authority has some check, some balance, including the presidential pardon power. But don't take my word for it. Let's see what Bill Barr had to say about it. This from the Hill. Quote, Barr, it would be a crime for president to pardon someone in exchange for their silence. Well, maybe the Hill has it wrong. Let's look at the Business Insider. Quote, William Barr says it would be a crime for Trump to pardon someone in exchange for their silence. Close quote. Now, rarely do I cite Bill Barr as authority for any proposition, except maybe how to, go about corruptly protecting a criminal president. He's darn good at that. But even Bill Barr acknowledged in his sworn testimony before Congress it would be a crime for the president to pardon someone to buy their silence.
Do you believe a president could lawfully issue a pardon in exchange for the recipient's promise to not incriminate him?
No, that would be a crime.
Thank you.
So I would contend that the presidential pardon purists have this one wrong. So even Bill Barr says it's a crime for the president to pardon somebody in exchange for their silence. So against that backdrop, let's look at the cases of Mike Flynn and Roger Stone. But before we do that, let me just set out one other example of why I think the presidential pardon purists are on the wrong side of this argument. Let's assume in his remaining months in office, Donald Trump set up a pardon kiosk at the front door of the White House. And he sent out the word that anybody who wants a pardon for a friend, a family member, a criminal associate, anybody who's been convicted of a crime and serving a prison term, anybody who might be pending charges, who wants a pardon, can simply come to the pardon kiosk, write out a check to Donald J. Trump for $1 million, and he will print them out a pardon. Easy. The presidential pardon purists would say, oh well, can't be challenged in court. The president's pardon power is broad, it's vast, it's unfettered. I disagree. Let's turn briefly to Mike Flynn and Roger Stone. And Roger Stone, as you may remember, didn't get a pardon. He got a sentence commutation. That's just a fancy term for a president saying you don't have to go to prison, right? I am wiping away your prison term, right? A pardon means I'm wiping away your conviction altogether like it never existed. A sentence commutation means, well, your conviction remains intact, but I am wiping away your sentence. I am telling Roger Stone you don't need to report to prison to serve the 40 months that Judge Amy Berman Jackson sentenced you to. Follow the bouncing corruption here, and then let's finish up with why this must be challenged in court. So Roger Stone, as you'll remember, lied to Congress over and over and over again to protect the president, so the president didn't get in trouble. And he lied about the fact that he was working with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks to get these stolen emails, to weaponize them, to deliver them to the Trump campaign so they could nefariously use them against Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. Roger Stone lied over and over about it. He got caught and he got criminally charged for it. And then Donald Trump sent out a series of tweets and made a series of statements that in substance conveyed the following to Roger Stone. Stay strong. Don't snitch. Don't flip. Don't tell on me. I got you on the back end. That was the message that was being conveyed loud and clear from Donald Trump to Roger Stone. What did Roger Stone do? He stayed strong. He didn't flip. He didn't snitch. He went to trial and he got convicted. He went down in flames. I was in the courtroom watching that trial, and he had no viable defense. He got convicted. He got sentenced by Judge Amy Berman Jackson to 40 months in prison. And in fact, she said, and I think I can quote it verbatim, you know, Mr. Stone, you weren't prosecuted for standing up for the president. You were prosecuted for covering up for the president. And you're going to prison for 40 months. A few days before Roger Stone was set to report to the Federal Bureau of Prisons to begin serving his term, he gave an interview, a public interview. And here's what he said. He said, Mr. President, I didn't flip on you. I didn't snitch. I stayed strong. And now, you know what I want? I don't even want a pardon, Mr. President. I want a sentence commutation. I don't want to report to prison in 3 days to begin my 40-month sentence. And that same day that Roger Stone gave that interview demanding the other part of the quid pro quo from Donald Trump commuted his sentence from 40 months in prison down to 0. The Presidential Pardon Purists would respond to that scenario by saying, oh well, nothing can be done about it. President's pardon power is vast, it's broad, it's unfettered, can't be challenged in court. Well, there's no oh well about this, folks. Oh well does not move us in the direction of justice. You know what does? A court challenge. A court challenge is what moves us in the direction of justice. And it's the right thing to do. And justice matters. It matters. And as always, folks, thank you for following me on Twitter at GlennKirshner2. I'm on Twitter all day and night trying to answer your legal questions as best I can based on my 30 years inside the federal government, first as an Army JAG prosecutor back in the 80s, and then for nearly a quarter of a century as a federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice at the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. And also, if you choose to support our all-volunteer efforts here, you can go over to patreon.com. You can sign up to become a patron and support our efforts and our content. And if you do, I will send you a couple of Team Justice stickers with a personal handwritten note of thanks. So folks, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And together we are going to continue to walk this long, bumpy road to justice.